are not confirmed. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه يا ربي كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters who are joining us live on YouTube in our Baitul Aman Mosque Culture Center channel, we have organized this event, Deception of Shaitan. Have Sheikh Khidir speaking to us. Sheikh Khidir does not need introduction to our mosque. He is very well known in the local area. So we will have Sheikh Khidir speak to us about the topic, how Shaitan, deceptions of Shaitan affects us, how the dunya, everything around us is pulling us away from Allah, and how to save ourselves at such a time. Before we start, I would like to ask our Muazzin Shab to recite from the Holy Quran. Assalamu alaikum.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما والذين يبيتون لربهم سجدا وقياما والذين يقولون ربنا اصرف عنا عذاب جهنم إن عذابها كان غراما إنها ساءت مستقرا ومقاما صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Qari Sab, shukran. And now, inshallah, we'll start on our main program. And this program will be delivered by Sheikh Khidir, Deception of Shaitan and the Promise of Allah. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walahu wattaba'a hudahu amma ba'd. We begin by thanking Allah Azza wa Jalla, our sustainer, our maker, for giving us the tawfiq to be here. Those of us who are here physically and those who have joined virtually, may Allah Azza wa Jalla accept our sitting. May Allah Azza wa Jalla make this the reason that He grants us salvation in the hereafter. And this is the way to begin a majlis, a gathering, by invoking to Allah, by asking Allah Azza wa Jalla for His aid, His assistance, and most importantly, seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The topic that has been chosen, a very, very important topic. The deception, the plot, and the plan of Shaitan to destroy our faith in this dunya, so that he can be successful in the hereafter and we become unsuccessful. So it's very important we understand the plot, the trap of our enemy, the most challenging component. Those of you who watch MMA, I'm not encouraging it, it's just our youngsters watch it, MMA. The opponent, he will study the strategy of the person he's fighting, how he previously attacked the other person, what are his weaknesses, what are his strengths. If you're fighting against somebody, then you need to know their strategy, their plan, in order for you to stand up against that. Likewise, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, Shaitan is the greatest of enemy. He's not just your average opponent. He's not just your average challenge. He is the greatest of enemy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna shaitana lakum adu. Shaitan for you is your enemy. Fattakhidhuhu aduwa. Take him as your enemy. In another position of the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Inna shaitana lakum aduwwum mubin. He is a clear enemy to you. So the greatest opponent for each one of us in this dunya is Shaitan. Shaitan comes to us different avenues, different ways. He uses different tools, different methods to disturb us, to take us away from the correct path. And Shaitan, this whole history of Shaitan goes back to Adam alayhi salam and Hawa alayhi salam. And the incident that took place between Adam alayhi salam, Hawa alayhi salam, and Iblis. So the plot of Shaitan is not something new. The attack of Shaitan is not something new. It goes back to our father Adam alayhi salam. They were in Jannah. Allah Azza wa Jalla blessed them in Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya Adam uskun anta wa zawjuka al-Jannah. You and your wife, anta wa zawjuka. Zawjuka is the tabi' of anta. You remain in Jannah. However, there is a condition. Enjoy everything in Jannah, but do not وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. Do not go close to this tree. This was a test for him. Allah Azza wa Jalla knows the result. He is Alimul Ghaib, Al-Alim. And Al-Alim in Arabic language means a person who has a continuous quality. Continuous quality means today I have knowledge of something, tomorrow I don't know. I don't have knowledge of tomorrow. But Al-Alim is a sifa, an attribute given to Allah Azza wa Jalla, meaning He is aware of today and tomorrow and all of the coming periods. And He was aware before and He is aware now. Allah knows what Adam alayhi salam is going to do, but it's a test for him. So He says, do not go close to that tree. Shaitan comes to him, فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ. Shaitan comes and he whispers. So from this we understand the very first tool of Shaitan to disturb us is waswasa. He pours something in our heart and all of a sudden we feel something. And from that moment, we take the next step. We're able to control ourselves, be composed, then we've protected ourselves, but often we're not able to do that, and then we take the wrong path. Look at what Shaitan says. Shaitan comes to Adam alayhi salam and he says, Ya Adamu, hal adulluka ala shajarati al-khuldi. Shall I, tell you about this tree of eternity? Now, if you go to this tree and consume for the fruits, then you will become amongst the people who live forever. And this is the first whisper of Shaitan to Adam alayhi salam. What happened? Adam alayhi salam, he was deceived. He was in a state of delusion. He was in the trap of Shaitan. He was deceived by Shaitan, and then he did what he wasn't supposed to do. So don't think that Shaitan and his movement are a new phenomenon. It's a new group that recently came out. They've been since the time of Adam alayhi salam, and constantly, with full force, head on, attacking generation after generation. And some of them were not afflicted, and many of them were people who became misguided. Inshallah, we're going to look at some of the traps of Shaitan, some of the plots of Shaitan, especially in the time that we're living in. I'm sure all of us are aware of the things that are keeping us busy, things that are keeping us so busy that we're forgetting Allah Azza wa Jal. We're forgetting our everlasting home, the Akhirah. So these are the things that we really need to think about before we meet Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. In order for us to really stand up against our component, we really got to understand his psychological state. How does he think? How does he behave? You've got to look at all of those characteristics. You can only fight your enemy who is coming to you full force, if you know his strategy, as we mentioned, his plans, his plots. So you've got to study him before you go into the ring to fight him. But the problem with us is, we're part-time Muslims versus a full-time Shaitan. And it's not easy. Shaitan is constantly exhausting his efforts to misguide us. فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي لَأَقْعُدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. Shaitan says, after he was expelled from Jannah, he asked Allah, oh Allah, I've done wrong, but give me or allow me until the day of reckoning to go to the dunya and try to mislead. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla gave him that opportunity. And this is the test for us. And one may say, well, if Allah didn't allow him, then we would not be in this situation. Allah is the most knowledgeable. He knows why he did that. He knows the outcome. He knows this question will be posed to him. Allah knows best. We don't question that. All we need to know is this dunya is a test. And we are in this test. Shaitan will come full force. So we need to be ready for our opponent. فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي لَأَقْعُدَنَّ. The word لَأَقْعُدَنَّ in Arabic language, it comes from to sit, قَعَدَ. In Arabic language, jalas also means to sit. قَعَدَ also means to sit. If I say قَاعِدٌ, a person is sitting down. جَالِسٌ, a person is sitting down. But there is a difference. There is a difference between the two words, even though often, the same words are used. But لَأَقْعُدَنَّ is lam at-tawqid and nun at-thaqila. These two harf are used in this particular word, which illustrates to us that he is sitting there ready to ambush us. He's sitting there ready to destroy us. It's not just any type of sitting. Like I sit and I get back up, then I go. He is going to sit there and he's not going to move until he has taken our faith away. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us. And this is what he says, فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي لَأَقْعُدَنَّ. I will sit in this place ready to ambush all of Bani Adam, the children of Adam. Allah Azza wa Jalla, he says, but this is not the case for my true believers. The true believers are those that Shaitan has no sultan, no authority over them. So may Allah Azza wa Jalla make us amongst the true believers that Allah says they will not be influenced by Shaitan. So we need to know his character. What is his character? He is a disbeliever, he is arrogant, and he's disobedient. How did I know these three things? Allah mentions in the Quran, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. If you look at this verse, it takes us back to the very incident that took place. Prior to this, remember, Iblis was a devout, good person who was busy in worship until the incident where Allah Azza wa Jalla told him to prostrate. He didn't prostrate. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ. When Allah commanded the angels to prostrate, they all prostrated إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ. The exception was Iblis did not prostrate. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَأَبَى. He was disobedient. He rejected the command of Allah. وَاسْتَكْبَرَ. And he became arrogant. He became proud. The pride really kicked in. وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. He was a disbeliever. Why did he become arrogant? Where does arrogance comes? Where does arrogant, pride come from? The moment you think you're better than somebody, because you have money, you have wealth, you look better, you have a better job, you have better education, or you have a better family lineage. All of these things make a person think, I'm better. When Allah Azza wa Jalla said to him, مَا مَنَعَكَ أَلَّا تَسْجُدَ إِذْ أَمَرْتُكَ, what held you back from prostrating to Allah when Allah commanded you? When Allah commanded you to prostrate, Imam Al-Qurtubi, he says, فَرَآ أَنَّ النَّارَ أَشْرَفْ مِنَ الطِّينِ, he felt like fire was more noble and worthy than soil. Adam is created from fire or soil? Soil. And Shaitan is created from fire. So he felt like he's superior. He is greater. He is better. And this is why he didn't prostrate. So from this we understand that our opponent, our enemy, he is a disbeliever, he is very arrogant, and he's very disobedient. So when you're fighting against someone of that mental state, then you have to be ready. As a believer, you need to be full force as well. And this means I pray on time, I do all of my ibadat on time. The moment I become lazy, Shaitan, who's working full time, is going to take me off track. And in the next verse, we're going to understand how he attacks us from the front, from the right, from the left, and from the back. ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ. Shaitan says, I'm going to come to them from the front. And then he says from the right, then he says from the left, and then he says from the back. When your opponent says, I'm going to attack this man from the front, back, left, right, he means, there is no mercy. He is out to kill. He is out to destroy. So you need to be on guard. You need to protect yourself. Shaitan is coming full force to damage you, to destroy you. What does it mean he's going to come to the front, from the back, from the right, from the left? You see, the scholars of tafsir, they tried to do, commentary of what it meant when Shaitan said, I'm going to come from the front, back, side, right, and left. Some of the scholars, they said, the front means everything that human being sees in front of him. The dunya in front of him. All of the beauty of this dunya, all of the attraction of this dunya, Shaitan will use all of this to mislead him. What about the back? Everything that has passed in his life. He's going to sit there in sorrow and be sad. I committed this sin, I did this. I shouldn't have been involved in this business. I committed this and I committed that. I don't think I'm going to Jannah. I think I'm going to Jahannam. So this is the kind of emotional attack that he places within a person. What about the right? What about the left? We know the left is a symbol of something bad. So he'll make you commit sin. The left means he's going to make you commit sin. But what about the right? The right means he's going to destroy you by making you do good deeds. So how's that possible? How does a person, destroy himself by doing good deeds? Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he says there was a man who was traveling on the desert. And let us say he's traveling from Hijaz all the way to Sham. It's a long journey in a time where they didn't have British Airways or, the fast trains and any means of transport. They didn't have any of those things. He says this man is traveling from one part of the world to another in the desert, and he has a bag with him, and in this bag he's carrying sand. He wants to take it home to show the people that I went to this place and I brought all this back. But when he got to his destination, he realized there was a hole in the bag. What happened to all of the sand? Did he have to go experience difficulty? Yes, carrying sand on his shoulder was very difficult. He had to carry all of that. When he went home, he realized there was a hole in the bag. What does that tell us? That you may be praying tahajjud, praying salah, giving sadaqah, going to hajj, going to umrah. All of that won't be accepted if you're not sincere in what you do. And this is why Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, إِذَا لَمْ تُخْلِصْ فَلَا تَتَعَبْ. If you're not sincere, don't tire yourself. If you're not sincere, do not waste your time. Because you're wasting your energy in pleasing the displeasure of Allah, not the pleasure of Allah. And this is how Shaitan will make you do so much and then destroy all of your ibadat. Example is, a brother recently came back from Umrah and he said to me, my masjid, Imam Sahib, let me show you a picture. He took a picture of people taking picture. I said, well, show me. And he took the picture from this angle. Near enough 80% of the people doing tawaf around the house of Allah are walking and doing tawaf like this. Astaghfirullah. Now, this is a very sacred ibadah. You've paid 1,500 to 2,000 to go to Umrah, approximately 10,000 to go to Hajj, and you come back home and you realize you came back home with that bag with no sand in it. You have to be very careful. You know, you're making a lot of effort to do all of those good things, and it's just being rejected. وَقَدِمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, all of our good deeds will be presented on the day of Hisab, and we will find everything has been scattered, destroyed. Imam al-Tabari, he says, الْغُبَارُ الَّذِي يَكُونُ فِي الشَّمْسِ. On a sunny day, for example, even when you look out the window right now, the rays of the sun coming through your window. You know, when you open your window, the sun comes through the window. You pick up your pillow and you do this to the pillow. What happens? You see dust like this. الْغُبَارُ الَّذِي يَكُونُ فِي الشَّمْسِ. Like the dust, our a'mal will be destroyed because we wasn't sincere. The shaitan will make us do good things. Like a man who prays tahajjud all night, mashallah, all night. Just before Fajr, he falls asleep. Allah is not in need of the nafal. He is in need of the fard from you. If you do nafal, that's good for you, mashallah. You shouldn't abandon the nafal. So shaitan will use so many different tactics to destroy your good deeds, and he's not going to give up. Sometimes we give up. This is where the problem is. We have to be solid, strong, and mentally strong, most importantly, to understand our opponent so that, you know, he doesn't overpower us. These are the different ways that our scholars have mentioned shaitan will attack us. Let us give some examples of the time that we are living in. From amongst the tools and deception and plots of shaitan, well, at least to me, I feel like is social media. This itself is another topic for another day, and this is a discussion that we can have every single day. But before we get to the dangers of social media, I just really want to mention to you how social media is a benefit. It's fair that I say that it's a benefit. It's a good tool if you use it appropriately, if you have proper discipline when it comes to the usage of social media. And the benefit and the detriment depends on the person using it. If you're, mashallah, a person with taqwa and you don't use it for anything inappropriate, alhamdulillah, fine. But in most cases, we can confidently say that social media has become a tool that is destroying the character of every single person. Not only that, how many families have been destroyed because of social media? How many relationships have been destroyed because of social media? And I do counseling as part of my, job regularly. That we see, couples come to us regarding marital problems, and I can promise you, 80% of the time is because of the mobile phone. 80% of the time, young couples are struggling to live together. They want separation, all because of this, mobile phone. So if you're telling me this is something that's fallen from Jannah, then I'm not going to believe you. This is not manna and salwa from Jannah, I promise you. This is definitely a tool of shaitan. So you're going to say to me, well, why do you have it? Unfortunately, this has become inseparable from our lives. We grew up in the 80s and the 90s here. When we used to go to make a phone call, we used to have to buy the BT telephone card. We used to have to buy the BT telephone, put it in the phone box, and quickly check, the room is going down. Even when I went Bangladesh to study in the 90s, you pay extra minute to us. That 1 minute was like 20 seconds. But now we have the whole dunya in our hands. Everything, young children, and I'm sorry to say this, young children who haven't even reached the age of puberty, they have access to everything here. And I don't need to say anything else. I'm sure we've understood. Young children have access to everything on this phone. So it is a tool of shaitan in most cases. And if you look at some of the statistics of people using this, approximately 58% of the overall population are actively using social media. I'm not talking about the population in UK, globally. Actively, 58% of the people are actively using social media. That's globally. Let's speak about United Kingdom, for example. The most used platform is Facebook. The current population in the United Kingdom is approximately 67 million. Out of the 67 million, 58 million are actively using Facebook. What percentage is that? 80%? Approximately 80% of the population. Now, if you say the population consists of young people and elderly people, what percentage is young people? Let's say 50%. Elderly people 50. Above 40 like us, 50. Half. If it's 80% people using social media, then 40% are youngsters using social media. That's a big number. And look at how the character of people is being destroyed through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all of the other platforms. Young boys, girls watching all of these videos, and most cases are filthy. You know, you go to YouTube to watch a beautiful nasiha, and then the advertise comes, and they quickly cancel it. Yeah? And we have control, alhamdulillah. We were able to do that. But think about a young man who is going through puberty. You know, he has lots of needs, he has feelings. Maybe those of us who have passed that period, we may not have that, you know, strong feeling as a young man growing up, who's going through that age. When he sees that image, he may not cancel it. It may take him to another page and another page and another page. And before you know it, he's playing with his mind. He's thinking about it. He may go to the masjid, he's still thinking about this image. He may be going to sleep in his room, all of a sudden he's by himself, he thinks about that image. Slowly, Shaitan is destroying this young man. And this is where we as parents, we have to take responsibility. And, you know, a father is a leader. A mother is a leader. What is the key character of a leader? Is that they take ownership of that which they possess, that which they have. Now, you have to take ownership of your children, not let your son and daughter into Shaitan. Oh no, my son, you know, is going to get upset. I need to get him. No, you have to take a step and give time and have proper parental control over what your son sees, what your son does, your daughter does, or they're going to be destroyed and you're going to be blamed. And I give you an example of how, you know, we can become destroyed as parents. It's very important we mention this because for me, this is the most important tool of Shaitan in the time that we live in. Definitely the time that we live in. Because there's people walking. As I was driving here, subhanAllah, it's green light. The young woman nearly got hit by the bus. She's looking on her phone walking. How many people have died taking selfies? How many people are just constantly, you go to Oxford Street, you know, it's very busy Oxford Street. You come out of the station, everyone's on the phone, bumping into each other. It's crazy how, you know, we've been so attached to this. We have a responsibility. Surely we have a responsibility to ensure we protect ourselves. Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum, your children, your wife, your daughter, everybody in your household. Who is watching what? What purpose do they have this phone for? Are you the man of the house or not? That's a question you want to ask yourself. If you're not able to ask those questions, then are you really the man of the house? You know, it really begs the question. If you can't go inside your house and say to your son and daughter, you know, what are you watching? Let me see your search history. But we live in a society where, no, you know, you can't ask me anymore. You know, that's the kind of society that we live in. Freedom. You know, you can't ask me. I can do whatever I want. Yeah, so that's the kind of society we live in. No, as Muslims, remember, we have religion, we have guidance, we have rules. We have to employ them. As fathers, if we fail, then we're going to fail our children. And I want to give an example. Inshallah, we're going to finish in about 5 minutes. A man came to Ali radiallahu anhu, and he says, my son has become disobedient. I tell him, go and pray. Go and do this. MashaAllah, the father is praying, the mother is praying. The son doesn't listen. All of a sudden, he's a rebel. He's the total different. So Ali radiallahu anhu said to him, how did you treat your son when he was young? When your son was young, how was your relationship with him? The man says, Kuntu uhminuhu. I neglected him. I was too busy. Dino ham, bikale ham, dino ubar, ratre bolt. Shumay nai. Birotihin khat chole ramar. Ali radiallahu anhu says, well, what do you expect? You're not there to support your son, give him love, give him guidance, nurture him, and show him the path. Today, you have to be ready to accept the consequences. And this is why it's very important as fathers. We've come to this country. Our parents brought us here. If you're born here, then you're from here. We came here. Our fathers came here. They spent 30, 40, 50 years of their life trying to build something for us. They were good people. They brought us here. We now have a responsibility to ensure that we are proactively making effort for our children to remain within the circle of Al-Islam. Because there is a movement that is trying to take our children out of Islam. Whether it's this, whether it's the TV, whether it's the school, wherever they may be, intentionally, actively, there is a movement trying to take our children out of Islam. And I tell you this, wallahi, this is very sad. When Shaitan, one of the tools of Shaitan is, he starts at the bottom. He's not going to come and question your faith. It's going to make you do small, small steps, and then at the end you lose your faith. On the contrary, he may target someone with their faith. Who does he often target with their faith? Is the young ones. To target me and you in regards to our belief in Allah is not going to be an easy task. We regularly pray, Alhamdulillah, hada fadlun min Allah. We come to these circles because there is activity going on. Al-imanu yazidu. Iman yazid bil-ta'a wa yanqusu bil-ma'siyah. Iman increases with obedience. But a young man who goes to school is studying lots of science, biology, physics, and most of the teachers are atheists. You go to university, they have no belief. Think about the messages that they're putting forward. So this young man or young woman who's only 11, 12, he comes home and he sees his father praying, mother praying, and thinks, not making sense. Why do you need to pray? So they've already instilled that seed within your son or your daughter. And when he goes to university, he has more access to all of that. And before you know it, he becomes an ex-Muslim. Na'udhu billahi min dhalik. So if you are aware, there is a movement known as ex-Muslims. Some of them, intentionally, they're there to, create more fitna. And some of them are actively working to take many out of their fold of Islam. So that's an opponent who's trained, he has different fighting styles. You can't just go in there with taekwondo to fight someone who knows different martial arts styles. You have to know his strategy. Is he good at wrestling? Is he Khabib? They don't go in the ring with Khabib because he's from Russia, from the jungle. But us, you can't just go to pass your theory test without practicing. You need to put a lot of effort in. And this is what we need to be doing, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the tawfiq. There are many, many deceptions of the shaitan, especially in the time that we live in, such as music, such as entertainment, such as wealth, all of those things. But it requires lots of time for us to have that discussion. But I want us to just focus on this point, our mobile phones, why we have this device in our pocket, what is the purpose. And inshallah, through this, we will be able to protect ourselves and our children. May this tool be the reason we go to Jannah, not Jahannam. And this is the kind of mindset that you want. If this is the reason you go to Jahannam, that's a very bad position to be in. You stand on the day of Hisab and your book is presented to you. And on your book, all you see is, I logged into Facebook at that time, Instagram, this. And on the other hand, no Quran, no Hadith, no Salah, no. Ya Allah, Ya Akhi, 60 years Allah gave you as a blessing. And you were deceived by Shaitan. At the end, Shaitan won. And you are the one who is in loss. So, we have to make those choices while we are alive. When I open my eyes every morning, it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another opportunity for me to come close to Allah. And nobody can say that, at certain times of their life, they're not going to feel weak. Sometimes Shaitan overpowers us. The most important thing is the one I'm at war with, he doesn't win. My opponent, he may have won the first round and the second round and the third round, but I'm going to, go above and beyond on the fourth and the fifth. And we've seen that with football matches. You think 3-0, now Liverpool don't have a chance anymore. And all of a sudden they come. Yeah? And then you see MMA and you think this guy, all of a sudden, it's a game changer. It depends on your drive, your energy, your focus, and understanding that your most important or most dangerous opponent is Shaitan in this dunya. The one who is constantly trying to preoccupy your mind with irrelevant things over relevant things. The moment you're driving and you're not thinking about anything except something impure. An example. Shaitan's trying to attack you at that moment. The moment you pick up your phone and, the fingers are going the wrong direction. You're typing the wrong stuff. Shaitan is attacking you. The moment you have an argument with your other half, your wife, Shaitan is trying to destroy your relationship. Every single moment you will see he is trying to plot something to destroy your life, your relationship with others, and most importantly, your relationship with Allah Azza wa Jalla. And the final point I wanted to mention, Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions, mashallah, Ibn al-Qayyim is a think tank of this ummah. He says, every single person has three relationships. Relationship with their heart, relationship with others, the relationship with the heart meaning themselves, relationship with others, and the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which one is the most important relationship? Allah Azza wa Jalla. If your relationship with yourself is intact, the relationship with Allah will be intact. If your relationship with others is intact, the relationship with Allah will be intact. How do I maintain that relationship? Is understanding how to control my desire, control my needs, protect myself from my opponent, and most importantly, making effort at every step to tackle Shaitan, who is coming at me at full force. The one who is not going to give up, ready to ambush me. I have to be ready. May Allah give us the tawfiq. And it's important we give some spiritual methods or ways that we can protect ourselves from Shaitan. And the best amongst that is remembering Allah regularly, constantly being in a state of remembering Allah. And I promise you, when your tongue becomes moistened with remembering Allah, a time will come when you're not doing it consciously. You're doing it subconsciously. Sometimes you didn't intend to do the dhikr of, sometimes we sit. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to do some adhkar. Sometimes you're driving and you're doing dhikr, but you didn't intend it. How did I get to that situation? How did I get to that position? Allah took me there. How do I get to that position? Constantly remembering Subhanallah bihamdi, Subhanallah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Any adhkar that you know, Rabbi ghfirli, tub alayya innaka anta at-tawwabur. Any adhkar that you know, when you're constantly saying it and your tongue's moistened with the remembrance of Allah, I promise you this is a shield between you and Shaitan. And often you will see people who are in such a state where, they're ghafil, jahil. It's people who don't have remembrance of Allah. So how do we keep ourselves protected? Constantly, this is verbally remembering Allah. Salah is one of the most, strongest mechanism to stop Shaitan, but also constantly asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, astaghfirullah. When your tongue's busy, then it's a means of protection from Shaitan. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give us the tawfiq, protect ourselves from our opponent, Shaitan, and may Allah Azza wa Jalla grant us success in the hereafter. The Shaitan will come till the last moment and you're ready to depart and people are around you and everyone's saying, La ilaha illallah, say La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And then Shaitan will come even at that moment and say, you sure? Are you still sure that this religion is of truth? If it was, then why did you have cancer? Why are you dying in this state? You've been in the hospital for the last 20 days. The Lord was so merciful. Why are you in this state? Shaitan will come with all of these, kalam, these statements at the last moment, full force, just hoping that he can take your faith away. This is the moment, when you say, Man qala la ilaha illallah khalisan min qalbihi. The person who says La ilaha illallah sincerely from their heart, يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ. For that person, Allah will keep them firm on the last moment. This is the kind of exit that we want. Allahumma inna nas'aluka husna al-khatim. Allah grant us a good ending. And this is the dua that we can make. Allahumma inni as'aluka husna al-khatima. Oh Allah, I ask you for a good ending. Good ending means die in a state, you take with you tawheed, upon tawheed, the way of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So Shaitan's not giving up even until your last moment. And so we want to ensure that next seconds that pass, minutes, hours, days, weeks, that I'm proactively making an effort to protect myself so that I don't become overpowered by Shaitan, his waswasa, his plots, and the deception of Shaitan. الله عز وجل protect us. هذا من عندي والعلم عند الله. أقول قولي هذا، أستغفر الله لي ولكم سائر المسلمين. جزاكم الله